here we are, my friends. Never forget this date, because if you've seen AEW Dynamite, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, I'm about to light up your life. It was around about 1 year ago that Orange Cassidy did sign with a company, and I saw it. Oh, I don't want to come to Kansas City. It's a bunch of rubbish. Well, boy, howdy. If you were mad then, now you're gonna melt down. But before that, we've got to take this, the finger of power that controls everything, and it controls the world like Pinky in the Brain. And we've got to go through AEW's latest show and give the good bits up and the bad bits are down. And just so you know, tomorrow, Friday, 2 p.m. BST, the votes came in for Retro Ups and Downs, and Money in the Bank 2011 kicked WrestleMania 17's ass. I didn't see that coming, so it's time to do the Summer of Punk. But right now, it's time to up those downs. I like manic starts, I just do. Usually when you settle down to watch a program, you know, you plonk your ass on the couch and you try and find that nice spot from where you were before, and then you can actually get into whatever you're watching. But recently, AEW just been like, pow, 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 let's go, go, go. And that's what they were doing here too, and that's why it's Get It Up. Because the Young Bucks were out to kick things off, and before they even got to the ring, they got jumped by their opponents, the Dark Order, who started to just hit them so hard, Matt Jackson was out for around about a few minutes, leaving Nick Jackson by himself. Of course, well, as soon as Matt was back up to his feet, he just dove on the entire Dark Order, because that's what we do in All Elite Wrestling. But then the fight was on. And the official participants from the cult were Evil Uno and Stu Grayson, because, you know, they ride together and they die together. And at one point, I actually thought they were going to win, because they were going to hit their finishing move, the Fatality, which better be named after Mortal Kombat, and they came this close. Instead, Nick was able to bust out of that, hit the sunset flip pin from nowhere and get the 1, 2, 3, and man, Stu Grayson is gonna wake up this morning having nightmares, even though you have nightmares when you're asleep, but he'll be coming out of a nightmare because he was just milliseconds from breaking it up. I bet Brodie Lee not happy. And yes, look, I know that this was the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment. Boy, howdy do I know that. Twitter let me know. I just woke up, it was like pow, pow, pow. But up to this point, AEW hasn't done it too much. Now, we are going to have to readdress this when we get to our main event, but let's just do it then. This is a really fun opener though, and I don't think that Grayson and Uno get the credit they deserve. So I'm gonna get my credit gun out, that's right. I'm gonna fire it. There you go, my friends. You just got some credit. I mean, it comes from me, the bald asshole, so it's not worth as much as somebody else. You know, this is how I was born, and it's all I can do. We then saw MJF preparing backstage because he was about to grace us with his presence. And of course, it's Tag Team Appreciation Night this week on AEW Dynamite. So we had a bunch of vignettes from a bunch of tag teams telling us who their favorites were. We started with Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, and we just went on and on and on. And for my money, I'm gonna mention the Hart Foundation, because they were just fabu. And I'm gonna mention 3-minute warning. Didn't see that coming, did ya? I just always liked the concept when I was a kid, and I never felt like we truly ran with it. And then Maxwell was here. He was behind his podium again and yelling at all his staff because he's just the biggest butthole on the planet. And he even went, look, John Moxley didn't even turn up for Dynamite tonight because he's a big scaredy cat. Now, this was brilliant and proper heel tactics, because the announce team had told us seconds beforehand, hey, we're going to see John Moxley later. We saw him earlier in the parking lot or whatever. That's so good. MJF, he's just such a moron. Up. MJF just went on and on here, including insinuating that Moxley refuses to lose to people, and that pissed the AEW champion off, so out he came. But MJF had a plan, because he sent Wardlow to cut him off, thinking he was going to come through the crowd, but he was wrong. John had already thought about this. He came out the entranceway, and did he put a beating on Maxwell Jacob Friedman. He even gave him the paradigm shift. Moxley then cut a promo saying that this doesn't even make them close to being even, and that at All Out, he is going to punish him. And I really hope he means this like a dad punishment. So he's going to walk out and go, look, not only do you have to stay in your room, but you're not allowed to use the family car. And then Maxwell like, no, didn't do nothing. And then we'll have this brand new relationship that can blossom throughout the rest of the year. I don't know why I'm not on a raid team. Given how strong Mox looked here as well, just the smallest part of me, this bit in my forearm, thinks that maybe MJF is about to win the title. But I enjoyed all of this, It's a really good feud. You've got an obvious good guy and obvious bad guy. It just makes wrestling more fun. I dig it. Matt Hardy has also finally lost it. Well, I guess you supposedly could argue that he lost it ages ago, but after he got twonked in the chair last week by Sammy Guevara, and if you haven't seen that in slow motion, you need to go and see it. It is unbelievable. Well, it's like scrambled Matt's brains, and he's now jumping from persona to persona to persona, as he was doing here as he was being interviewed. So they are now coming and going, much like Lance Archer's appearances on Dynamite. That's a joke. That's a joke. Also, I brought that up because I want to see the Murder Hawk more. He's brilliant, and he's probably somewhere throwing someone into a ceiling. I'd like to see it. Thankfully, later we do. Matt then told us that he's not cleared at the moment, but he doesn't care about that because he wants to go out and seek revenge against Sammy Guevara. He then just started beating up some dude that looked like Sammy, and it was an AEW referee, and everyone had to calm him down. So yeah, Matt Hardy, he now like bonkers Matt Hardy. And we'll have to see where this goes. It was then TNT Title Open Challenge time, and somehow, I don't even get how, AEW has completely made me believe that Scorpio Sky was going to win here. I mean, all he did was tap the belt on Dynamite and cut that fire promo on Dark, but still, I was convinced, and that made this match oh so much better, because you've always got to believe. Nope, not you, him. Up. The TNT title has now been finished for those people that couldn't handle it before, and it looks absolutely lovely. And Cody continues to go full-on bad guy here, because not only did he come out with every single friend he's ever made, like he had an entourage, but he told Justin Roberts to announce him as the Prince of Wrestling. No good guy would call themselves the Prince of Wrestling, although it is a good nickname, because when you shorten it, it's Pow, so now he can be called Cody Pow. Scorpio didn't care about any of that though, because he came out here looking like an absolute warrior, and when he was getting his offense in the early going, I couldn't have rooted for him more. Both took this nasty fall over the top rope, which seemed to damage Scorpio Sky's back, and Cody jumped on that like he was a shark. I got his massive teeth and went, hup. What an asshole. To underline the idea that we were trying to get Scorpio over as much as possible though, he did kick out of a crossroads, and that was actually okay here because it's been a while since the last person does that, but alas, he wasn't able to get the job done. And when he was smashed with another crossroads, 2 was too much, and he was beaten for the 1, 2, 3. And again, social media did not like that. But let's see what's going to happen, because one, when you do decide to change this championship, I just think you need to make the build a little bit stronger and a little bit more exciting, and all of this happened within around about 7 days. But then more importantly, on the big screen after Cody had won came Brodie Lee, and he was like, Cody, I'm sick of you, I am sick of your shit, so on the next episode of AEW Dynamite, I challenge you for that belt. You can't say no, because it's an open challenge. You should have thought about it before you decided to do it. Lee's promos have gotten so good over the last few weeks, and I totally believe him as like a deranged psycho killer kind of a dude. And also, if you haven't seen him on BTE, you need to go and see him on BTE. He steals the show every damn week. You know what? I actually think Brodie Lee may win the TNT Championship, and I wouldn't be against that either. We shall see. The tag team titles were on the line next as Kenny Omega and Hangman Page took on the Jurassic Express. Now look, was this as good as other tag team matches we have seen in AEW? No. But do I feel the need to compare every single thing we see to every single thing else we see? No, I don't. It just gets boring after a while. It was good. It was entertaining. Up. However, there were some eyebrow-raising moments, in the sense that at one point Luchasaurus used Marco's stunt as a projectile, and apparently that was fine. But moreover, when Marco was on the apron getting in Kenny Omega's face, the commentary team treated this like, oh, Stunt's gone crazy, he's above his station. I was like, that's not true. That's not true at all. Like, Kenny Omega was a super dick to him a few weeks ago, so of course he's gonna have a bee in his bonnet, buzzing around. According to JR, Tony Schiavone and Taz, he's just gone nuts now, and that made me take a minute and access my brain and go, I didn't make that up, and I was slightly confused, and you should never be confused. It just felt like the story had fallen apart, and that made me sad. So it gets a down. Anyway, going back to the match, Jungle Boy got his ass whipped for a lot of this, which makes perfect sense because his tag team partner is a dinosaur. And also shout out to Luchasaurus for just staring into the camera before this and being like, hey, finally, after 65 million years, I've got a shot of the gold. I absolutely love that character. And when Jungle Jack, as Jim Ross would say, actually did start getting some momentum, he dove at Kenny Omega, who grabbed him and just chucked him into the floor. Oh my goodness. Luchasaurus finally did get in before long, and he was running around looking like the prehistoric monster that he is. This is also where, yes, he picked up Marco's stunt and decided that he should be a weapon. But alas, they couldn't get the job done. Page and Omega hit the last call on Jungle Boy. 1, 2, 3. They're gonna have to try again another day. And poor Luchasaurus, he's now gonna have to wait another 65 million years. and I don't want to spoil the future for you, but we're all gonna be dead. Then Santana and Ortiz, these two absolute Poindexters, because not only did they wreck Sue's car last week, Trent's mum, not only did they do that, but here they got her possessions, they got her luggage, they chucked them in the shower, and they poured bleach over them, and just ruined it. You two are gonna get what's coming to you. I hope Sue teaches you a lesson yesterday. This is somebody's mum, pals, and as we know, the number one rule in life is that you never mess with somebody else's mum. I said it last week, and I say it again today, the most relatable storyline in 2020, because who doesn't want to protect their own mother? It was then time for the official Tag Team Appreciation Night segment, and who saw this coming? Down goes my hand. I mean, there was so much here, and there's so much depth that you can just swim through. Well, it's bravo all around. And it's getting it up. It's basically a big love fest early on because the Rock and Roll Express were in the ring and the Young Bucks were like, oh man, you guys are so good. And then FTR were looking at Tully and Arn, who were also in the ring, going, man, you guys are so good. It was just fairy dust and pixies and love all around. The Legends then did the same for the Young Guys until Tully had heard enough of this, and I tell you, we have to allow Tully to do as many promos as he's physically able to do, because he was like, this is a pile of crap. You're a moron, you're an idiot, you're an absolute doofus. To be the best, you've got to have gold around your waist, and I'm looking around and I don't see any gold, I just see some jackasses. He then turned his attention to Arn, his former tag team partner. He was like, well, look, I especially don't like you, because I haven't forgotten what you did at All Out when you interfered with my guy's match talking about Shawn Spears, and you ruined everything. And this really must have hurt Arn Anderson's feelings, because he left. Or did it? Ricky Morton and Tully then started pushing each other as everybody tried to calm this down, and FTR just looked on very interestingly as Dax was like, oh, my knee, my dodgy knee. Well, they were being lying Liams, because as soon as they saw the opportunity, they hit Gibson with their knee brace, and they actually gave Ricky Morton, who must be about 700 years old and he's still smashing it, but they gave him a spike pile driver. Are you kidding me? And I was genuinely stunned. I mean, I guess the equivalent to this would be like Goldberg returning and Matt Riddle just making him tap out. I mean, maybe that's the step above, I don't know. But it was great because they were using that history in order to make sure the present feels better than ever. And of course, eventually the Young Bucks were bat out here in Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, who, by the way, took his sweet ass time. And that's what I want to get into now. Because there was so much here that you can assume, but we don't know for sure. Because one, Arn Anderson got out of there as if this was the plan, and we know how he feels about the FTR and all these Four Horsemen teases. And two, Hangman Page has been very, very friendly with FTR. And why wasn't he moving a little bit quicker? I'm telling you, it's there, or maybe it's not. So all of these were excellent touches. It was a really good segment, although I wouldn't have called this Tag Team Appreciation Night. I would have called this Beat Up the Old Men Night, because I tell you, the Rock and Roll Express, they did. That's what happened. I still can't believe they were able to do this. Those guys, they've been smashing it for 700 years, and they'll see it. They will see the Luchasaurus title shot in 65 million years. I won't, because I can't do what they do. They are unreal. I should have mentioned this earlier too, but in that TNT Open Challenge title match, the referee was the one and only Mike Chioda, he of WWE fame, and he was being interviewed here saying, hey, Mike Chioda, I'm so happy you've arrived, when Chris Jericho turned up. He's like, look, Mike, I asked for you to referee the main event later, but that's only because I did you a massive favor in the past, and I'll do you another one by getting you a job here in AEW, but you gotta wait for the signal, and then you gotta do what you know you gotta do. None of that sounded good at all, and I was like, oh my gosh, what can the signal be? Maybe at one point he's just gonna play some Fozzy music, because that would distract me. Again, I'm just joking. AEW then put egg on my face, didn't they? And this is all good because I like egg on my face, it's really high in protein, but after last week when I just stood here and stared into the camera and said, look, I don't care what you do, just put AEW Women's Champion Shida on television and give her any kind of a match. Well, that's what they did, because she was here fighting the debuting Heather Monroe, and although Shida did win in about 2 minutes, I can't be a hypocrite, so up. And yes, it would have been better if it was a little bit longer, but here's the obvious silver lining. Shida is the champion, Heather Monroe has only just turned up, so she should be killing her in this amount of time, and that's what she did. There was also this cool reversal when Shida went for the Falcon Arrow, but Heather managed to get out of it, but then Shida was like, all right, well, if you're gonna do that, I'm just gonna put you in the stretch muffler, and out she tapped. Also, why is the stretch muffler all of a sudden returned to wrestling? Shida's doing it, Big E was doing it, everybody wants to be muffled. We also got a little bit of a tease about what may be coming next, thank goodness, because afterwards Shida was interviewed and she just said, basically, I'm waiting for this big challenge, where the hell is my challenge? So next week we should find out who this challenger is and build to the pay-per-view Cross your fingers. And then going back to what I said earlier, Lance Archer was on Dynamite and he was going crazy. Like, Jake Roberts was cutting a promo, and in the background, all of these guys were just getting ha-ha-he-he murdered, and I kept looking at the ceiling like, oh my gosh, someone's gonna go through it. I also don't really know what they've been doing in their spare time, but to end this, Lance ripped off Jake Roberts' shirt, turned him around, and Jake wasn't up for this, by the way, he didn't seem comfortable at all, and on his back he had written, "Everybody dies." Look, I'm not here to judge, whatever you want to do, but that's straight. What did you say? You took off his shirt, you wrote on him, and again, Roberts wasn't into this, he seemed upset, and you put the shirt back on, you turned him around, and then you did this. I mean, it's a bit strange, but again, Lance Archer is so intimidating, he definitely gets away with it. It was then time for Chris Jericho versus Orange Cassidy, and I'm not gonna lie, I know there's a few things we need to discuss, but I thought it was excellent, and it just goes to show. The finish here was kind of obvious, but did that take anything away from it? Of course it didn't. It's like when you go and watch a romantic comedy. Do you get to the end and go, oh, can't believe the man and the woman got together? So unrealistic. No, you don't. You're like, that's so lovely. I believe in love. I want to get a relationship. Point is getting it up. Cassidy just beat the hell out of Le Champion to begin with, because you know he's really angry about the last couple of weeks. But of course, Jericho was in control before long, because he's the veteran, he's the experienced one, and he knows how to get away with anything. Orange then kept hitting a series of really cool moves as he did start his comeback that made you go, oh my gosh, maybe he's going to win. But Chris always had an answer, including at one point, Orange just dived at him, and he reversed it into the walls of Jericho that always looked so damn good. Instead though, Cassidy proved that he'd been watching wrestling in his spare time. He acts like he doesn't care, but clearly he does, because then he turned that submission maneuver into the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up, and that was so close, I actually believed it was going to be the finish. I was wrong. Orange even kicked out of a code breaker, which I thought was a big deal, and it was a little bit disappointing because nobody on the commentary team seemed to agree with me, and that's when we found out what was going to happen with Chris Jericho and Mike Chioda, and whether Mike had turned into a bad guy, because Chris Jericho had Floyd the Bat, or whatever the hell he calls it, and he told Chioda to look the other way, and Mike was like, no Chris, it's not going to end that way, give me that, and he didn't let it happen. Then he played Fozzy, not really. Craziness though, Ortiz and Santana then appeared on the aisleway, but the best friends were clearly waiting for them, and they started having a brawl, and this surprised Chioda so much, rather than officiate the match, which is his job, so he's never going to get employed now, he started watching it when Jake Hager ran down, he slammed Orange Cassidy, and you were just like, no, not like this, it's not fair. But then, when Chris Jericho did pin him, and Mike Chioda had finally turned around and started doing his job, Cassidy kicked out again, and I couldn't believe my ass, even though it's still there. Instead, Chris hit a low blow behind the referee's back, went for the Judas effect, but Orange Cassidy then reversed that and technically did use the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up, and he beat, I repeat, he beat Christopher Jericho. Now, a couple of things we do have to talk about, otherwise I understand everyone goes nuts in the comments. It does seem a little bit strange that if you were going to have Orange Cassidy win with a surprise roll-up, that you'd also have Nick Jackson win with a surprise roll-up at the start of the show, but you can't tar AEW with the same brush you do WWE. Like, no matter what WWE does, you can't then judge AEW by that same bar, so for now, I think they do get away with it. And yes, something went wrong with this roll-up. It was supposed to be a mouse catch or whatever it's called, and somebody rolled the wrong way. But have you ever made a mistake? Yes, you have. They are allowed to make mistakes. And again, even though it did take away a little something from the match, do not forget, Chris Jericho has only been beaten by John Moxley, John flipping Moxley up to this point, and now number 2 on that list is Orange Cassidy, the supposed cartoon character. So who cares? Who cares? I don't care. A former world champion got beaten by a man that's named after a fruit, and I really think right now, if you treat the fallout of this well, Cassidy could be on his way to Success Town, and everybody wants to live in Success Town. I hear they're all very successful. And Jericho has to keep wearing that stupid stain jacket because he doesn't understand he can just go and get it washed. I enjoyed this. I had a good time. I was sports entertained. Shouldn't use that word with AEW, but I do not care. So we continue on our pathway to All Out, and I'm pretty excited about some of the matches we're going to get, especially if Brodie Lee wins that TNT Championship. There's just something in the air about that that's getting me all hyped up. And once again, I'm giving Dynamite, said the word, I'll say it again, an up. Oh, Simon, you always give Dynamite an up. All right, cool. I'm winning. I'm always having fun. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's AEW Dynamite. And let's just, skip forward. No, the finish, the Jericho match, can't believe it. All right, let's get over it. Let's move forward. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling, then head over to WhatCulture.com, read yourself some articles. Follow WhatCulture on Twitter, WhatCulture WWE, and watch more videos here on WhatCulture Wrestling. My name is Simon from WhatCulture. Thank you as always for joining me. I have no idea what's going to happen because AEW Dynamite is not airing in its proper time slot for a while. But we'll figure it out. We'll still up those downs. And don't forget to come back tomorrow, 2 p.m. BST. We're amazingly doing ups and downs for Money in the Bank 2011. I'll see you then.